Hello, my name is Ryan Bain from Webtechglobal, and this is a video for CSV to Post 8.0.0. I'm actually still working on this new version. This is the second video that I've created for the plugin. I'm really getting into the swing of things with this version. It's really fun to develop. I've changed a lot of how the plugin works and my approaches to the providing support for the community and things like that. So a lot of videos will be required as usual, but I decided to create a video for discussing CSV files on their own. I've provided CSV files of the same files I'm working with so that everyone can work off the same page when testing and troubleshooting. I would like to take a more training approach, and that usually does require everybody working with the same sort of tools and so on. So if I just scroll down here, I'm on the About page. If I scroll down, you'll see a panel with the computer sample data header, and that's what I'm talking about. I've provided links to public spreadsheets with computer data. It's split into 3 separate files to show that the plugin can work with 3 separate files, and there's other aspects about the files that show what CSV to Post can do, especially if you use your imagination. Now, down here we have the links to open the files on Google Documents, but what I want to do is download the third file, because there's a little problem that sometimes happens, and well, I just want to point people, I want to guide anyone. Oh, I don't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. I want to open the file. Right, I've lost it now. I'll just click it again. There we go. What I want to do is open it in Notepad, because Notepad tells all. Here we have a 6-row file, but it should be 4 because I only have 3 computers in my data. That's all I need to work with. And so what I do is I just click before the quote and backspace, press home. That's handy if you're doing this, and go to the next quote and fix that. Now, I'm not saying that the file will always have a problem like that, or the problem will be in the exact same place. Sometimes the line breaks that shouldn't exist happen elsewhere. Now, I have tried to fix it. I've rewritten the fields that caused the problem. The fields that I've just repaired there, I've deleted them and I've rewritten them. And what seems to happen is line breaks appear elsewhere in this file. So I've got it to a point where the line breaks are where you've just seen them. It's quick to fix. I'm leaving it as it is. Alright, if anybody else wants to spend some time fixing it, by all means, please do. You are welcome to add more data, but there's some rules that you have to follow, mainly keeping in mind that many people are using the files, and they may update an existing project with any changes I make to the file for the sake of testing data update and things like that. So it's not a case of editing the file to any way that you want and really getting away with it without upsetting someone. Actually, I'm saying that I should maybe have some sort of version number on these files. We'll see about that. Now, I'm going to open the public documents on Google now. I'll just open 3 of them. The first file and the second and the third, they're obviously incremented, computers 1, 2 and 3. But if you're working with multiple files on one project, that doesn't have to be the case. You could use any file name. Alright. It just makes it, obviously it's more understanding, easier to understand when incrementing. Also, there has to be a main file. So obviously the main file in this case would be number 1. So you might want to take that into consideration. The main file, I won't go into the reasons for the main file. Some of it is complicated. And there are features coming to the plugin that may require incremented file numbers, such as automatically importing new CSV files as they appear in a directory. For example, if they're delivered from an affiliate network or so on, the file would need to have some sort of format to recognize that the file that has appeared applies to said project, with the only change being an incremented value. Right, sounds great, doesn't it? And it's something that I've promised since maybe 2010. I made the plugin in 2009, and it was popular. I've promised it, I'm sticking to my promise, trust me on that. But I've never been satisfied with the foundation of the plugin, so to speak, and that's what I'm doing with 8.0.0. I'm getting it right this time. Now, that's the headers. Oh, sorry, that's the file names. Now I want to talk about the headers because they've changed in a big way. CSV to post has never required specific headers. So in this example here in file 1, CSV to post would not require title. It could be my title, and it would work just the same. But what CSV to post 8, I'm just going to call it 8, CSV to post 8 requires is what I refer to as SQL or MySQL ready column names, because I use these to create columns in the database. So they have to translate, or really there is no translation. The older versions used to clean them up, clean up the CSV file headers and store the old version, the original, and the new, and sometimes I even had to create a third version of the headers, store all that, and then work with it. And when I say work with it, there was, there's some complication and some headaches, and I would say I wouldn't just say, I know for a fact there's a lack of efficiency in certain areas of the plugin when taking that approach. So I decided with this new version that users will now require a lot more preparation with the CSV file. I know that could be a headache, especially to some of you guys that are in big companies where one department is providing you with a CSV file with specific headers, and they refuse to change the headers at their end because their software expects specific headers and so on. That's the real world sort of situation that I have to work with regularly, and that's what made me make previous versions flexible. So if you're watching this and you really need a plugin that does that, try the older versions. I'm happy to obviously give you a copy of any older version, or contact me. It's always possible for me to provide you with a customized version of the plugin, or consider maybe just a switch that changes the plugin's behavior. But that's something I won't do until someone requests it, which, geez, that's going to be not far away, knowing my luck, and I'll have a whole lot of work to do, right? But hey, that's what I get paid for, right? So initially the plugin will require the headers to be clean. That's a simple way to put it, like what you see here. But please, as I said, they don't have to be specific terms. If you look here, computer number 2 has HDD, SSD, RAM, and so on. This is obviously a real world sort of sample file. This is, a lot of people might be using the plugin to import data like this, but it doesn't mean CSV to post expects these headers. These sort of headers are not pre-programmed and written in the code of CSV to post. So you don't have to worry about things like that. That is one flexibility that we'll always keep. Now, that's most things covered. What I need to do now is just maybe point out why the files are, why I have 3 files, why the data set is in 3 separate files. That's because we can import the data to 3 separate database tables, or we can import it all to individual tables. 3 separate database tables allows us to have maybe a setup. As I don't want to use technical terms because not everybody out there has studied databases and programming and so on, but there are real world professional scenarios where we need data to be in separate tables, not in a single data set. That's the simple way of putting it, right? The other thing is, I have this idea of, and I did have a client that was in this scenario. They had a problem where their main file had a million books. It wasn't books, but I can't say what it really was. A million anyway. So there's a million rows in a CSV file, and then they had other CSV files that had sort of metadata. The metadata had IDs for the main file, so row IDs, but there was not a row for every single file. There was not a row in the sub files for every single row in the main file. which makes sense to me in a big way, because otherwise you would just be creating empty blank rows, and that would mean when the plugin imports them, it would actually loop through those, it would process those rows. So somebody obviously decided, well, why do that? Why not keep it short? So I think what we had is about 10,000 books with a sort of metadata, but the plugin couldn't really handle that at the time. I did eventually make CSV to post handle that, but it was a bit shady. It's not always clear how to do these things in the plugin and so on. The new version will make it clearer. I just want to point out that is why the plugin is flexible like this. We can import to multiple tables or one table, and we can split the files up and all that sort of stuff. Now, lastly, I just want to talk to you guys that may be interested in editing a file, adding more rows to it. Please stick to the format that I have. In the third file, you have to remember the IDs, and the second file has the same IDs. That's very important, so that the plugin can associate each row with each other. The blocks of text we have here, I want that to be very similar. I don't want little short descriptions in there. There are reasons for that. The way that the plugin will use data, and some of the intelligence I'm putting into the plugin for reading this information needs to have these blocks of text. Over here we have, computers one, we have a short description. So it's things like that we have to look out for. Try and sort of stay to the format. The other thing is I'm Scottish. I'm in what might be an independent Scotland by the time people are really watching this. Who knows? I don't know if that pound. I might have to go on and remove that pound sign